our next talk. Are NFTs dead? And we got a big panel here, so I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. Go for it.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Dirk Lüth. I'm co-founder, co-CEO of Upland. Any Upland players here? All right. Okay, we're new to Dubai. So actually, Upland is the largest metaverse which is out there right now. We have over 300,000 landowners. We're based on the real world. We sold over 4 million NFTs. We're currently live in 20 cities across the US and Rio de Janeiro and Porto. We have a few partnerships with the NFL, for instance, in the US. We have FC Porto as partners. And of course, I came here to Dubai to check out, this beautiful city and to see what's going on.
Hi, I'm Battis. I'm the founder and CEO of Space. Space is a commerce virtual world, allowing merchants to create their own virtual stores inside of our experience. We've got like 270 merchants that we've partnered with, and I actually created as well with Dirk the Open Metaverse Alliance.
Hi everyone, I'm Tina, co-founder of TonicLabs.io. We are a digital media company dabbling into NFTs, softwares, and much more.
Hi, I'm Dave. This is how they mute me. Can you hear me now? Hello. Hi, I'm Dana. I'm founder of Metadana. I also am partners with Into the Cryptoverse, so I make his NFTs. We also do NFTs for like baseball players and sports. And I've also been involved in some pretty cool projects that I'll be telling you guys about. But yeah, more like creative tech and finding new creative solutions in Web3.
And I'm Paul Dewalibi. For those of you who are here at 1:30, sorry you're going to hear my spiel again. 20 years in venture capital and building tech companies. Sold my last business about 8 years ago and have focused only on gaming and metaverse stuff. I host the biggest gaming industry podcast in the world called Business of Esports. Have a metaverse book coming out at the end of the year. Hosting a show on CNBC on gaming and metaverse, and minted the world's first esports NFT. There you go. There's the connection to NFTs.
Wow, how about that? Yeah, so I'm going to set this up. So I've been emceeing all day. I did a presentation earlier by myself for my collection, Dustbreakers and so forth. Paul, you were very, I say this as a compliment, very provocative in your talk earlier. So this is for everybody, I'm going to start with you. Just basically the hard question of the title of the topic is, are NFTs dead? If they are, I'm out of a job.
Next panel.
I'm out of a job, but that's all right. If they aren't dead, well, I guess if they are or not, answer the question. You should give your answer to the question and back it up with the why. Are they dead? Are they not? Why? Given the market, given the space we're in right now.
Did anyone here really believe that in the current sort of iteration of NFTs that this wasn't going to die? Did anyone really believe that selling monkeys for hundreds of thousands of dollars was like a sustainable industry and business? I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one here, but I think everyone sort of expected the other shoe to drop. Everyone sort of knew this was a bubble coming to an end. So I think, short answer, NFTs in their current iteration are dead. What I would love to know sort of from everyone is, where do we go from here, right? I think spending zillions of dollars on a picture of something, that business has gone away or going away. So where does this go?
Well, I think
you can answer the title of the question, or you can answer Paul's question. Up to you guys.
I mean, I do have to agree with you that NFTs as we know it are dead. But I do believe in the technology, and I do believe that it's going very far. I think that if you've been in NFT Twitter, you've definitely noticed a drastic change in the sentiment in the market and about NFTs in general. So NFT summer is definitely gone, and we've seen a downward trend of sorts in the NFT market. But in a way, I find it to be a healthy sign for the market in general. I just feel like Web3 users are starting to demand more from creators and developers. They do want more utility-based projects, more than just the animal JPEGs like you mentioned. I do believe that the PFP culture is still going to be there, but it is going to demand more. And just because Web3 users are always going to like the anonymity, and being able to kind of show association with a community or even show off their financial capabilities. So I do believe that the technology is growing and we're still early, but as we know it, they are dead for sure. The hype has gone, but it's a good maturing sign for the market as a growing market.
Can I just ask a question? Sorry, just to get a feel for the room. Like, put your hand up if you have a crypto wallet. Keep your hand up if you have an NFT in that crypto wallet. Keep your hand up if you regularly buy and sell NFTs using that crypto wallet. Keep your hand up if you think you're going to make money on the NFTs in that crypto wallet. Not bad. There's like 5 or 6 people still with their hand up. I think part of the conversation is this audience, this market is stratified, right? You have NFT tourists who bought it because like their friend had one and they're like, this is cool, like I'll buy something so I can tell people I have an NFT. All the way to the other end of the spectrum where you have people trading this like it's their living and, as if they're buying shares of Apple. I think it's a mistake to treat this whole spectrum the same, right? Like I think part of our NFTs Dead conversation is what piece of the spectrum are you actually coming from?
So I think basically NFTs, the speculation aspect is pretty much there. We know it was just too overhyped and it was just too much in there. So what I can say is at the end of the day, technology or NFTs don't matter. As soon as don't use those words anymore. So we've been doing this now since 4 years. When we're launching a new city, and we still launch new cities in Upland, we're minting 80 NFTs per second. And we did just this like 2 weeks ago. So people are still buying NFTs, but without really knowing that they have them, right? So we have, for instance, what we did with Upland, we were always, focused on mobile first. We have iOS and Android app, and we are obfuscating all the complicated stuff in Upland in there, so people don't really know what actually that this is an NFT or something. So I think this is probably the direction where it's going. That when you see all the other games out there, people are buying something to have the utility, to have something they like, and to do actually something with that. And I think that is probably how it's going to be. So we said, when we prepared a little bit the panel here, we said, NFT is going to be like cats, right? It's going to have 9 cats, 9 lives, maybe even more, right? And always lands on its feet, but in a different way, right? It's going to be not just wash trading, selling, what always the media likes to quote, 5 million NFTs for a virtual yacht or something. People are going to use it on a daily basis, and that's where it becomes really ready for mass adoption.
Yeah, I actually really like the 9 lives thing, because even if we look at like how the whole market's gone so far, like first it was just a picture, then it always needed to have a membership. Now recently, like it's got to have a yield, otherwise it's not worth it. And I just think it's just going to keep adding to it. This is kind of like the evolution we're going to see. Without it, it probably is not going to have like legs for that specific way of like trying to raise capital for your project.
So smart contracts aren't dead. Like all the titles of these events so far is like, is DeFi dead, or like, are NFTs dead? No, they're just an incremental change to the AI economy. So as we move into AI, like this is the new like word that's being used too, like, AI, creators economy. Smart contracts are putting a barrier around what creators have made to prevent AI from taking that from the owners. So they're creating ownership, and it's also protecting the people who are buying and selling, so that you're not being taken advantage of as the creator and the buyer. So as we move into this creator's economy, that's really what smart contracts are about. And they're breaking down the barriers of tech and big corporations and giving the value to the creators and to the buyers, so that all of these monopolies are not sucking up all of that value for themselves, and it's distributed it's distributed to everybody. That's what smart contracts are about, and that's what NFTs are about.
Awesome, awesome. So we got past the clickbaity title of the panel there. So let's kind of get into it. I feel like all of you have different variations of the answer of it being the current hypey version of it. It's we're not there anymore. That's gone. And yet there is an incoming or current version of it where it's utility based, it's functional to that. So I guess like to a lot of the audience, as we just saw, a lot of them have the crypto wallets. They're interested in the space. They're sitting here. The room's practically SRO, standing room only here. So for each of you and your unique perspectives of the space, I'd love to hear like where is that kind of penetration into the mass market? Well, maybe not mass market, but like that first like spear going through the wall. Like what is that going to be? Anybody?
I have a theory that if there's a panel at a conference on a specific topic, it's nowhere near mass adoption. Right? Like if we're talking about something this specifically, and sort of riffing off you guys talking about, what does this evolution look like, and maybe we shouldn't be talking about NFTs specifically. I hate that we put words to things. I said this on the Web3 gaming panel, right? Calling it an NFT anything or NFT on its own, to me, limits this from the mainstream, right? One of the hurdles to mass adoption is this has to be completely seamless, has to provide zero friction, has to make whatever experience it's integrated into better without any downside, right? And even calling it an NFT, you eliminate my grandmother. Like my grandmother couldn't care less about NFTs. I mean, she's not alive, but she still couldn't care less about NFTs. And so there's this like, I think we hurt ourselves by trying to be clever, right? We're all very smart. We call these things NFTs. We're all crypto geniuses. But this limits us from mass adoption, who just, no offense to everyone in this room, don't give a shit about any of these things, right? They don't care.
Yeah, it just should be the back end word, right? Yeah. Like we should just be talking about the consumer brand product.
And the consumer benefit, right? Which is always lost here.
So I actually wanted to start by saying someone who's doing a really good job with that is Dirk and their user flow. It's actually really incredible if you don't know anything about blockchain. The other two kind of predictions I have is I think dynamic NFTs are going to be the next big thing. Really exciting. There's a couple of projects like Playground out there where you're basically betting on an athlete, and then depending on like the outcome of what happened, that's kind of how you get paid out. I find that's really interesting. And then of course, Fidgetals. Fidgetals is kind of for me the most inevitable thing of this topic since the start. It almost feels like kind of like a major industry shift from, just getting what the physical or digital product and getting the 2-for-1 value proposition. And then I think what's really cool about it is how you're able to define what one side or the other side of it is. So I don't know if you guys agree, but...
No, I do. I guess I would just add that the more they become practical rather than, like he was saying, something that you can't relate to, something that it's practical in your everyday life. So the utilities that they offer, as much as it relates to the mass adoption, it must relate to the common people more. Yeah.
So what is mass adoption? You said it. What was the number of users, or what is it actually?
It's up to you. Your definition. I don't. To Paul's point about like mass adoption, that's like it's so big, right? I was like, where? I guess where is that like tipping point? Like when does that happen? Where you kind of like the spigot opens? Like what does that look like to you? And maybe it is what you guys are already doing.
I think mass adoption is, when you think about it in the 2000s, right? When you created a game at that time, right? And you had 1 million users, right? Then actually people said, oh, this is mass adoption, right? Now 2010s, it's actually 10 million. So that's actually where also, let's say the whole blockchain space is, right? I think probably we have mass adoption when we cross 1 million users in 1 or 2 or 3 million users in one application, which are they daily using, right? So I mean, we're still far away from that, right? We look, there was a lot of discussion, chatter around the last days. How much users do actually have all these current metaverses out there? How much? I mean, you look at Deb Radar, right? They're all in the lower, 10,000 still, and they're not even close to 1 million, right? of daily active users. And I think that's probably where we can speak about mass adoption on quantity level. And on the other level, I think we're going to see mass adoption when you really go down the street, someone who probably doesn't know crypto, but you see them playing or using, something like Space, right? Or buying something on Space or wherever, and they just using it. Said, okay, this is a person you would not estimate this is a crypto freak, because I have the feeling in here we only have crypto aficionados, right? Who are really already bought into it, who are just going to do it, right? But that is actually not what mass adoption is, right? So maybe just one last ad. We have in Upland, we have now 3 million registered users. 65% do not own NFTs outside of Upland. So we're actually acquiring lots of users, right, who want to just come in and for the fun and for other things. And everything is about owning, I think. And that is also the last thing I want to say. It's about, we have to create a new genre, right? If we just copy AAA games, or if we just copy, casual games or whatever is out there, then it's just basically, then we could have used, other databases. But if we add this whole idea about ownership, and when people own something, they create something new, they create something more creative, and that's where it becomes interesting. When you have the whole Web3 approach, bottom up, the community, participates in it. I think that's when we got to start seeing, great applications and mass adoption.
Can I add one
Yeah,
thing
go ahead.
there?
I thought that would trigger something. Go ahead.
Something that I found really interesting talking about mass adoption is I think there were a couple of hypotheses that hey, if, I don't know, some favorite artist of yours or famous actor did an NFT, that's what would break it into mass adoption. But it was actually really wrong, right? It was really interesting to see that they were not able to build loyal communities, that they were not able to supersede all other projects really quickly. I don't know if you guys want to comment on that. I thought that was really interesting.
I definitely agree with that, and it's important to remember that NFT projects are like startups. And I feel like when most celebrities or artists came into the market, they just put something out there and used their name to kind of sell out that project. But they didn't have a sustainable business model. You have to have something that you're going to retain your community and the value of that community. So I think that's where they went wrong, and I definitely believe that that was not a signal for mass adoption for NFT.
So mass adoption, quantitatively, what you're describing, qualitatively, what Tina does, with your ENS work, basically making it really easy for companies to jump in and give out coupons. Essentially it's coupons, really. It's doing what you do in the real world, but virtually. This is when mass adoption is gonna happen, but also off of you guys' points about well, it's not sustainable because you were just running off of the high of clout. So once it's really possible to explain that the value is actually being given to people, that's when mass adoption is gonna happen. And I think it's going to be slowly and suddenly. So for example, one solution that I've been a part of is figuring out the royalties issues with NFTs. How are you going to capitalize on that hype? Because all of the royalties are going between the buyer and the seller. They're just swapping back and forth. The creator's not really getting any of that value. So how do you do that? Well, you do that by having real currency, real money, not this crypto stuff, real money on blockchain. And as the creator's project goes up in value, as that demand is there, and guess what? Adam Smith says, the value will happen when people decide that it's there, then you're able to distribute a percentage of those sales based off of the distribution of, say, the transaction fee. So you're capitalizing on that transaction by going up in value and then giving a distribution of that sale to say the creator and the buyer. So you're capitalizing on, I don't know if that makes sense, but you're able to capitalize on that dividend. You're basically giving out dividends.
Of course. So kind of going off of that, just a story here. So when I talk to someone who's not in the space, they're I don't understand NFTs at all. I tend to give, and I'm in the artist space, so I tend to give two examples. So I give the example of a Van Gogh painting and the provenance of the Van Gogh painting, and the benefit of going to an NFT as a certificate versus have a curator is the royalty is tracked, the provenance is public, and the Van Gogh estate could actually get some royalties if it's sold between you and me for $1 million, right? So that's one example. The second example I give is something like through high-end product, like an Hermes bag that has a limited number, that's a certificate based, that you actually you're supposed to have like the thing they give you that goes with it, and that goes along with that item. But the thing is, for the Hermes bag, is the royalty enough there for Hermes to like switch from certificates to NFTs to track that if the only benefit is the royalty? Like, when would they ever do that? Like see, it's like a hassle. I'm going negative.
No, this is the problem. Like, the benefit's so marginal. Like, I'm not the Debbie Downer. Like, I believe in this future, but the benefit is so marginal today of an NFT over and I'll pick on the coupon example. I mean, you can send someone a coupon code. It's 8-digit number or alphanumeric code, and it's just as good as an NFT. Like, I struggle to find use cases where the NFT is so clearly superior from an end user perspective, and it's not just again, crypto looking for a solution, a problem to their solution.
I think so. Like, I hear you. I think the way of looking at, maybe you'll have another opinion, but the way of looking at NFTs is really just preventing value from being deleted, making sure AI can never delete this value that's been created. And the royalties, I think looking at it we're going, as humans, we're going to go ahead and distribute royalties and we'll be able to figure this out. Like, that's really arrogant.
Humans have survived tens of thousands of years with written systems, like showing what I own. There's Roman tablets showing what people owned. Like, we haven't disappeared as a species because we didn't have blockchain to figure out what we owned. I mean, like, I think it's such a weak argument. Like, what's the benefit? What makes me jump out of my seat and go, oh my God, I need to own NFTs today? Like, that just doesn't exist.
You're talking about like the monkey NFTs, like the
none
animals.
of them. There's no NFTs that get me to jump out of my seat.
So Paul. Sorry.
Oh, all I was going to say is like there's a difference between the NFTs, like, oh, do I want to own them? Or is this what our economy is moving into? Whether or not we like it, it's going there. As big data gets into our economy, it's happening, and NFTs are going to protect us. So they validate what we have so that we get paid. Is this working?
Yeah.
So that we get, am I yelling at everyone?
No.
We get paid. We get paid for what we've created.
Speak to the back of the room.
So you guys okay, we have NFTs. This represents what I've made. Web3 is the breaking down of the systems of tech, of big corporations, and it's removing the barriers that have been placed around humanity. Web3 is the idea. It's an illusion. It's what we're working towards. It's amazing. It's actually giving the ownership to people, and that's what NFTs represent.
This is the weakest argument of them all. I used to go to crypto conferences, and every crypto person had a shirt that said, fuck the banks, right? And for 2 or 3 years, everyone had a fuck the bank shirt. And then they all realized,
it's not a fuck the bank,
and then
though.
they realized, oh shit, we actually need the banks. Like, we need to work with them.
We do need
and
the banks.
all of a sudden, all the fuck the banks shirts disappeared, right?
I used to wear one of those, actually.
We do need the banks. That's why we have to use real USD.
The picking on like big tech as like we're going to disrupt big tech. Big tech has allowed for distribution of apps, of all kinds of
$500 billion.
Yeah, they
and
built the
fraud
platform.
and credit card fraud. That's what we're dealing with.
This is great television. You have a response?
So Paul, do you own a house in real life?
Yes.
Okay. Do you beautify it? Do you take care of it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I live there.
And?
It makes me happy.
And? Because you own it.
Okay.
That's the difference. And that is the paradigm shift we're talking about. Because you own something, you take care of it, you become creative. People creating, nice looking houses. They put nice ornaments on their house. They put whatever they put in their garden, whatever. It's ownership. And that's what we did not have before. It's not about fuck the banks or whatever, right? I agree to that. That's something. But it's the ownership. And we know that when you compare, economic systems, the ones who have ownership guaranteed, those systems, I don't want to get too political, but those systems usually thrive. The others do not.
I mean, I'm not going to repeat myself, but I come from the gaming world, right? In the gaming world, I have spent a lot of time caring about things I didn't own. Lots of time. Pixels on a screen that I genuinely cared about. Spent thousands of hours staring at, earning, coddling, that I never owned. But I was okay because I had fun doing it. Right? And so I don't think ownership is the killer app. That's the message. Ownership is not enough to get the mass adoption. It's not enough.
Oh, I agree with you there.
It's not visceral enough. It's not emotional
No,
enough.
but it's not the ownership. The ownership is the creativity which spurs it, what comes out of it. That's only the consequence out of ownership. You see new things what people are going to create. You're already seeing that now, because if you lost your stuff, your items in whatever Minecraft or whatever, right, and everything was destroyed, or they take it away from you, well, then it's tough luck. But now you have the perception that you can do something of it. It's exactly only knowing that you can keep it and that you can continue to developing it. That alone brings people up. It's very much the same thing like with money. Money is just paper, but we believe in something. We believe that it's stable or not these days, but right? So, but we believe, and that's the reason why it's working. And it's the same thing with stuff you own. And there will be, I think we will see an explosion. If blockchain apps succeed, we see an explosion of creativity in this world the world has never seen before. And one important thing is, we as humans, we're getting competition from machines more and more, right? We're getting replaced, how hard it sounds, right?
Yeah,
but that's just the fact. But we can live where we're good at is creativity. And that's where that actually blockchain and that technology is actually, to my mind, a savior, very hard words, also to humanity to do something new, right? Which will help us thrive more, right? Than 1,000 years ago, what you said, that people thrived 1,000 years ago. Yes, but they only live for 20 years or maybe 30 years or whatever, right? So, and that is exactly what we're seeing right now. And that is where this big paradigm shift is happening.
I agree with you. We can't get rid of banks. Like, if we were completely decentralized, we would be like fucked. like all of the fraud that's happening. The biggest Twitter accounts right now are like, oh, I tracked this fraud that just happened. Like, there's fraud everywhere. It has to be decentralized in the right ways and centralized in other ways. That's why you have currency backed by the solution that we have proven exists already. The solution that is here that will work is currency-backed gold. You're being paid in gold, packs gold for what you've created, and you're paid as a dividend. That's where the royalties come into play, not the NFTs themselves. That's where it's been backed, and that's what I thought the whole time. I was trying to figure out this royalty thing with NFTs themselves. That's not. It's a piece of the puzzle, and banks are not going anywhere. Like, they're just not going anywhere. We need banks.
Yeah, they're evaporating.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
Amazing. I'm like,
Sorry, Paul. Sorry, Paul. Challenge that.
It's just a new
No,
creator's
it's great.
economy. It's a creator's
It's
economy.
great.
It's a way to give value in the best way possible that's tracked and to prevent all the fraud that's happening now. That's happened and will occur and will continue to happen regardless. As big data comes in, that's just what's occurring. Like, we can either move with it and try to capitalize on, or we can just like sit back and be taken advantage of.
I mean, here at Jai Texas, there's so much new tech, and to the point of because we're talking about it here, for example, AR and VR, right? Like, that's been around. I know that the kind of corporate space has been using AR and VR tech for like training and like virtual work and so forth, but like the talk of it going into the mainstream, it feels like it's like waiting for Apple to do it, pretty much, right? Like Apple's gonna do it, and then AR's mainstream. That's like the argument right now, whether you believe it or not. That is like all I'm hearing about that. Yeah. So it's like, does Apple have to come into NFTs to make it
They've
Doesn't-
already they're already here.
I
Doesn't
think
that
so-
statement
yeah.
in and of itself prove the value of their platform that we're all trying to disrupt, right? These huge big tech ecosystems that now we're saying, but if Apple does it, then everyone will accept it, right?
But it's more because of how Apple does things, right? Like, I mean, let's look at Dapper Labs. They're kind of like the king of doing good user experience for
fair,
things.
but does no one see the irony of all of us railing against big tech, only hoping that
Yeah.
big tech will come in and make our little technology legitimate? Like,
But
does no
this
one
is-
see the irony in
This
this?
is valuable for big tech too, because they're able to see who's actually promoting them effectively. We can track those people. We can find their identities. Like, what's really interesting, and you know this in the NFT world, is you do this in your creative work, is that some of the smallest influencers have the biggest return for projects. And there's no way to figure out, oh, who are these people? Blockchain solves that. So who wants to be involved? Apple wants to be involved. I mean, my phone keeps breaking. I have to buy new chargers every week because they do this on purpose. Like, they want to make money. We know Apple wants to make money. This is how they can make more money. This is how they can make more money. This is how the creators can make more money. And this is how people can get paid.
Amazing. Any last words? We're about out of time. I'm going to give Paul an NFT to jump out of his seat, but that's okay. Before we go, the last statement. Yeah. Oh, your last time? All right. So just for the crowd before we wrap up, where can we find you? Where can we follow you? Starting with Paul, go ahead.
Go subscribe to my podcast, Business of Esports. And you guys can all follow me on LinkedIn. Also, I'm very active there. And go buy my my NFT. It's only $1 million, and it's my face.
I'm checking out your NFT. You can find me on Metadata. But check out Centillion.ai. We're looking for people who are going to participate in this creators economy early. And we're looking for, this company is amazing. It's backed by the smartest techs, and it's backed by one of the best research data scientists in the world. And this is where we're headed anyway. So investors, creators, everybody, basically everybody, we're looking for you guys. Just check out Centillion.ai, and you can message me on Metadata if you like.
So you can find us on toniclabs.io. We are doing a lot of different stuff. We have Decrypt, analytic platform. We have Boomerang, which allows you to do programmable NFTs and send to facilitate conversations between people that you would have no other way to contact. You just need their wallet address. We have NFT projects, so definitely look us up. My personal is TintinJPEG on Twitter, so I would love to get you connected.
Fidgetals are the future. That's the only thing that matters. Tryspace.com if you want to join us and change the world of commerce.
Dirk?
Okay, you find us on upland.me, so the real world metaverse. I also wrote a book called Navigating the Metaverse, which is a bestseller in the US. And together also with Baptiste, we co-founded with Sandbox, Decentraland, all together the Open Metaverse Alliance for Web3. You can sign up for it. 800 or more now companies have signed up for it. You can reach it under oma3.org if you're interested in moving the space together forward with us.
Amazing. Let's give it up for these panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. An amazing, intense panel leading up to the finale of the evening, day. Still day, not even yet. No problem. Come down in a second. We got Rose Voss 2, Brian Rose, Chris Voss 2, the sequel. And this one's going to be better than the first one. Again, some pictures we're going to set up for the stage, and then we're going to give the distinguished gentlemen their space here. Wait, are they?